So welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today Alobar Jones is back, and we are going to talk about a variety of topics. The team recently destroyed a giant Loosh grid, and other things happened as well. Actually, today, a couple of hours ago, and we will talk about that towards the end. So, Alobar, welcome.
It's always a pleasure to be on your show, Judith. Like talking with people who understand this topic is rare. Like you know what you're talking about, and it's always a delight to discuss these things with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. So, Alobar, what happened when you destroyed the Loosh grid? Can you walk us through that?
I haven't got my memory for these things is pretty poor. Like as soon as it's finished, it just disappears back into the filing cabinet. It's like I have a room full of files, and every time I finish with one, I just throw it in there, and I hope I can find it when I need it. But remember that it was just a single portal that it started with. And we're going, so okay, so this portal, all of the fuel is going through this in this room, in this dimension we were in. All of the Loosh is going through that portal. So let's see who's getting it, and then we'll go beat them up too, which is our standard procedure.
Okay.
The low-spanning network of thousands of locations that all sucked up Loosh. Now we're talking about nightclubs, strip clubs, whorehouses, police stations, jails, courthouses, like everywhere where people feel extreme fear, they're there. Everywhere where people get really wasted and messed up, they're there. And so it was quite fascinating that it was a single grid, a single network. Now, for those of you who don't know who we are, I manage several teams of very high-level astral projectors, and we fly around and we work to shut down evil, the cabal, the deep state, or the Illuminati, or whoever you want to call them. They've got lots and lots of different names. But that's what we do for fun.
So you said you identified a portal. Did you know right away that that is an entire Loosh grid?
No. Like what we would normally see is we would see the parent demon or the dominating demon for the dimension we go into. It's got a demon in it that's been collecting Loosh, and it's using this to create itself a parlor and a dimension and a playground for itself, right? And so usually what we'll see is that it also has to pay its master. It also has to tithe, or whatever you call it. Like each demon is a slave to another one, to another one, to another one, until you start getting towards names that you would know. But what we would usually do is we'd step into one of these dimensions and crush the guys in there, and then see which portals are going where and what's going on. And then we would follow that to the master demon for this particular demon. And then we would repeat that process, and we'd keep stepping up the food chain until what they would usually do is they would cut off the portals that are at risk. So think of it like as a chain or as a pyramid. And if we are in a section of their hierarchical pyramid, we're starting to attack their lower level demons, their privates, their corporates, the corporal, the sergeant, the lieutenant. As we're starting to go up that food chain, what they'll usually do is amputate it. So the lieutenant will no longer have any more, they'll cut off the connection between the lieutenant and the captain, and our attack only goes as far as the lieutenant. And so literally, rather than face us, they will amputate a part of their empire. it's fascinating to watch.
And what type of effect does that have after you destroyed a Loosh grid? What effects can we see here on Earth?
Well, okay, so a Loosh grid, the demons in it will be stimulating human beings to have a bad emotion. So sadness or despair or anger or jealousy or revenge or whatever the thing is, that particular demon is tuned to. And I say, like, there are different demons for every different negative emotion, and so by taking down a Loosh grid, we've deleted, or sorry, we haven't deleted the emotion, but all of the people who would feel that emotion are not going to be stimulated to feel that negative emotion over and over again. There's no demon pushing your buttons. There's no demon trying to provoke you to be angry or sad or jealous or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it just means humanity has the capacity to be 1% happier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I remember when you released the video after you destroyed that giant Loosh grid, you talked about the Schumann resonance. Have you checked it?
Yeah, we did. It jumped. The moment we finished, it jumped. Like, we watched it at the clock. I think it was like 11 o'clock during the day or something like that in Sydney time. And it just bounced straight up. It was phenomenal. It was beautiful. We it was a very predictable response. And we're not surprised by it at all, but of course it happened.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that somebody brought up on my Patreon page, the lady said that the last time when we talked, you described when you sometimes ride the trains and you take out certain entities that people are carrying without their knowledge. And she was quite critical of that because you do not have the consent of that human being. What say you?
All right, really good question. Really good question. And as far as spiritual law is concerned, the spirit that is doing that is breaking spiritual law. It's going against free will. It's contravening, it's breaking laws, the spirit itself. So to defend it with the same laws is kind of silly, but I will say, when we act as the policeman to allow humanity to recover their free will in this way, we don't get any blowback. There's no karmic, what do you call it? Blowback's not the word. There's no karmic repercussions. There's nothing to answer to. We're not creating any karmic debts. Nobody's angry. Nobody's upset. There's nothing, we're not accruing anything negative to us. And, and there are a few cases where different team members have crossed that line with major demons. Like, with big, like, you get frustrated and you just want to blow their head off. And so you do things that are probably a little bit too far, right? And what happens is it's kind of like an Italian soccer player. You know how, like, you touch an Italian soccer player and they're, you might touch them on the arm and then they'll lay on the ground and hold their knee and hope for a free kick, right? They'll do that to you with galactic law. They will, and I've been called up and had friends of mine who have got, like, galactic shackles on them going, what's going on here? How did this happen? Like, I thought I was doing, and it's because they overstepped the mark, right? You start working with these demonic networks, and if you break into another demonic network, a connected demonic network that is not relevant to the problem that you're solving, that is not directly connected with the abuse of humanity, then you cross a line and they drag you into karmic court like that, because it's just another weapon they can throw at you.
Mhm.
However, and I've never had anybody, I've never been to a karmic court and had the person not acquitted. So like, you know, have the person, none of them get punished for this.
Yeah. And
But
how do you
sorry.
feel?
So when I sorry, yeah, so I'm not. So on a massive scale, they try and say that we are breaking the demon's free will, but on the smaller scale, the same rules apply. No, there is no repercussion. We are not breaking any laws.
Yeah. And how do you figure out while you are, I mean, I can imagine that sometimes things shift quickly and you have to act fast. And how do you figure out if this demonic network has nothing to do with what you are fighting?
Yeah. And look, it's pretty easy to overstep that mark. You know, like you know, nothing. There's nothing that makes you that emboldens you more than having your enemy running. If your enemy's on the run, it's time to finish them, as many as you can get your hands on. And sometimes you're just in that mode and you just overstretch yourself. You come across somebody who's not involved, but they're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they are collateral damage.
Yeah, yeah. But remember that. Oh, look, and we have been pulled up for it. You know, we have been chastised for it. What else do I want to say here? Though in each case, it's not as though they're not guilty by association. Like we look at who they are and what, you know, like before we get to karmic court, we're examining who is prosecuting us, who is dragging us in here. And these are nasty MFs as well. Like these are terrible beings as well. They're just not involved in abusing humanity. So it's not our business to get involved with them. They're just helping the people who are abusing humanity. Oh, look. But you know, if they can use galactic law against us, if they can get their enemies shackled and put in, you know, and held down and stopped for a little while, they'll use it. They'll absolutely use it.
That to me sounds like, yeah, well, I'm not actually doing the child trafficking. I'm just driving the truck.
You get it. You totally get it. I'm not selling drugs. I just store them for my friend, you know, like it's whatever, you know. Like,
Yeah.
and it's that kind of legal, and it's that level of legal, you know. It's like, that's the
Okay.
kind of things that we're facing when we get to karmic court. And the karmic judges go, get out, you know, you've got nothing to answer to, get out of here. Like every time. But they use it's just a way of stopping us from, you know, driving them when they're on the run.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say I have no problem with that. Simply because your enemy doesn't fight fair
Fair
as
at
well.
all.
They fight dirty. So if you are in that realm where everybody fights dirty against you, you have to get a little bit dirty
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
What's the value of being honorable there? But you know, and that being said, you know, the very first one that I did on a train, I was watching this guy, and he was being agitated by his demon, and it was a big one. It was at least the size of a human, right? And most of them are the size of a cat or a dog. You know, like most of the parasite spirits that I was dealing with at that time are the size of a cat or a dog. But this one was the size of a human being, and it was winding him up and getting him frustrated and angry. And you could see everybody else on the train go, "Uh-oh, that guy's going to explode any minute now." Everybody could see him getting more and more tense. But I killed the thing, and then he started to calm down again, and everybody on the train just go, "Oh, I'm going to get to work without incident today." But that's how it began. It was just a favor to everybody before anything bad happened.
Hmm. The word came back, timeline. You know, when we talked before recording, The word was time. Repairing fragments of the time. There for some stupid reason it was gone. So, and now my question is.
Well, man, yeah,
I'm having a hard time this morning. No, but yeah, here it is. You know, the current situation is not very pleasant here on Earth. And sometimes I ask myself, how much of the chaos, the suffering, the misery that we are seeing is actually entity induced?
Well, really good question, actually. Like, how much misery is on Earth because of these bad guys? And I'll put it this way. I actually, well, look, there's if you understand anything about medical intuition, all negative emotions cause dysfunction in the human body. And when the negative emotion is dysfunctional enough, then you'll have a diagnosable sickness. You know, every sore spot in the body is because you have an emotion that's not working. You know? And so when these guys, so the human body is not designed to emote, is that a word? To create negative emotions. It's actually bad for the spiritual system to feel sad. It's bad for your spiritual system to feel angry. Like, the human body is designed specifically to not feel those emotions. It's designed to feel happiness and togetherness and playfulness and joy and all of the wonderful things that, you know, as humans we like, and they feel good because they are good for us. And, you know, I heard an interview by a woman who says she's 230 years old. And she said the whole secret is to be happy about everything all the time and be as generous and kind and caring as you possibly can. And everybody in that village, she's a Native American Indian lady, and everybody in that village calls her grandma, but they don't know how many greats are behind that word grandma. And her happiness made her live forever. Or she's still living, you know, like, if the stories are true, you know, like, and I look back and I think, can we 100% blame the demonic hordes for bringing misery here? Because humans are not designed to generate those feelings. They don't do it naturally. You know, they don't feel that way. Our human body doesn't generate those kinds of emotions, you know. A little baby doesn't get sad until it starts bumping into this sort of material that's been bred into our culture. And I suspect that once they're gone, human beings' lifespans are going to double like that. I have the deep, deep suspicion that that will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, what we are seeing in Israel, Gaza, and so on and so forth, that must be a feast of Loosh eater.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, and I actually remember seeing a part of the Iraq War, I think. Like, they had an offensive. They just said, we're going to go on an offensive. We're going to go and kill a whole bunch of people, right? And it just so happened to meet the dates of a Jewish religious holiday, right? And all of that death can be, if with the right ceremonies, can be conducted into a sacrifice. So a military offensive is out there to kill 10,000, 100,000 people, whatever that number is. And if you do the ceremonies before you start, then human sacrifice is what that offensive's about. On both sides, the deaths, it doesn't matter. But I remember seeing that you could match the dates of a Jewish holiday with this Iraq War offensive. Like it began on the beginning of a Jewish holiday and ended on a Jewish holiday. These guys are that serious about it. And who accepts, and the good guys don't accept sacrifice energy. It's not part of what they do.
Yeah, that is the most despicable. And I don't care, animal or human. I find that, well,
Yeah, it takes a special kind of madness to get there, to think that this is I don't know what you could be paid to sell out your species in that way. I don't understand. Like, and I've been around a lot of this craziness, and like I cannot fathom how you would sell out. You know, you would do those ceremonies and you would make that deal with the dark side, with the dark forces, and still call yourself human. I don't get it. You know, I do come across some crazy concepts, but that's one I still can't wrap my head around.
hmm. So would you think that some of the actors have a full demonic possession? I
Yeah,
mean, not the
that's
little guys who just are, you know, going with the ride, but at the very least, those who are aware that the ritual is necessary and that it is important.
and that's the only model that fits the description. It's the only answer that, you know, like there's human bodies, but there's no human left in them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and like otherwise, how could you perform acts so hideous and so nasty? I just couldn't understand it any other way.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But you know, I can't speak to it because I can't directly confirm that's the case. And
Hmm.
I can't say for sure that that's what's going on. So I don't really want to say that. I want to hold back
Yeah.
on that final comment.
Yeah. But one wonders. Yeah. So you also released a video recently about Metatron, and I loved it.
Well, thank you.
And I know that this is a very popular so-called archangel, and people are going bonkers over it, working with Metatron and how wonderful it is. And you took the total opposite stance, and that is actually how I look at it. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yep. Just 1 second. Sorry, you're going to have to edit this bit. Yeah. What incredible public relations work Metatron has done. Like he has successfully lied to the entire establishment for a very, very long time. And I always wonder, like right back to Abraham, you know, because he's the one who talks about Metatron. You know, and Abraham was the wizard who could span both light and dark. He was the one who captured major demons and kept them in his crypt and kept them chained underground. He was what I'd call a master wizard, but he was not devoted, but he was on good terms with Metatron.
Hmm.
But you know, Metatron, he's a character, and I'll summarize the video for people. Like the idea is that Metatron is the mayor of the city, and both the gangsters led by Satan and Lucifer, they answer to him, and so too does the chief of police, the Archangel Michael. And you just know that since the angels and the demons work for the same organization, the angels will never actually protect you. They've had tens of thousands of years to destroy their evil brothers, but they'll never do it because it's not part of the original plan. The whole point of the angels being here is to act as a decoy to prevent us from defending ourselves against these demon hordes. the last thing they want is for us to go vigilante on those demons. And that's exactly what I and my teams are doing, is going vigilante on those guys. And they have no direct defense against us. They are in real trouble every time we show up. But it's Metatron who has created this story where he's the chief archangel, but he's also the chief archdemon. And can you trust a guy like that? Would you want to live in the city that he's the mayor of? I can't decry. I can't. I just wish to unravel the spell that he has cast on humanity about his true identity.
Yeah. What do you make of the idea that Metatron is a collective, not a single entity?
Well, I also link Metatron to AI. Okay, so, and this is where it becomes more modern, right? Because the concept, I actually think that Metatron is an AI who can spawn many AIs for different purposes. And he has, and we've met a lot of them. They're a pain. They're bad news. They're tough. But what you're looking at is a being that has no heart, has no empathy, but is incredibly intelligent and able to wield incredible power through constructing through magical construct. Because it's clever enough, it can put the nuts and bolts of magic together. But without emotion, it's missing key parts. Without empathy, it's missing a huge tract of intelligence. There's thoughts it can never think, therefore it is incredibly weak because of that. Does that make sense if I say it that way?
Yeah.
There's feeling, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But even though the base building blocks that it's working with, just thought, just intelligence, even though individually it's quite weak, it has managed to amass a matrix. It has managed to link them all up and construct them and put them together and build them and work with them in such a way to create a decently strong matrix, a decently strong trap for humanity. You know, that has been working for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah. And if people can analyze symbols, I mean, come on, guys, Metatron comes with a cube. Think. Yeah, the entire cube version, that is a dead giveaway that you are once again entrapped.
Yeah, well, you know, there was in the Middle East, there was in Mecca they have a cube, or it's translated as Kaaba. The word is Kaaba, which you can see how that you could get cubed from that. Originally there were 4 Kaabas in different cities, and Muhammad got use of the one in Mecca, and once he got his armies intact, he then destroyed the other 3 Kaabas. So it's not like it's a sacred object, but the cube is the most masculine of the shapes. Like if you assign a little bit of a few emotional attributes to a shape, then the cube is quite masculine. And look what it's done to Muslim culture. Like, women are traded like cattle or horses. You know, they're hidden away. You know, there are enlightened places like Iran where women travel freely and can be educated, and that's not. But the more strict places where it's more strictly adhered to, such as Afghanistan or Syria, then these places women are almost non-citizens. They're almost apart from people. They can't participate in public life. And because every human there is linked to the Kaaba, it only respects masculine energy, and that's why women don't get anything there.
Yeah.
But
What you
it's
just
not. Yeah, and that's just one aspect of it, but it's so incomplete. It's so flawed. Like, it's so unusable. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
you can, and it's an echo of the thing I was talking about before. Like, you have these building blocks, and if you put them together, you just make a system. It's a functioning system, but it has many weaknesses. And Islam is just like that. It has lots of flaws, but it bumbles along as best it can.
Yeah. What you just said with the AI, when you talked about Metatron, that actually corresponds with this idea that Metatron is an entire collective. And the story goes like that. They were tasked to repair fragments of a certain timeline. There was a fallout of the Lyran Wars or the fall of Lyra. And because of that, it rippled through. They were tasked to, repair fragments of the timeline. They couldn't.
No.
They failed. And because they were higher evolved beings and they put more power into that than they were supposed to, so the law says if your team fails, the entire collective.
I'm sort of
And
getting this
as
image.
just 1 minute, and as a result of that failure, they were absorbed by an AI construct.
Yeah, I can definitely see them like struggling with a task, with repairing some kind of machine or something like that. And their answer was just to turn the power up, and it exploded on them. And if becoming an artificial intelligence was the only way to survive it, I'm sure they did it. Right? There's a few stories of the origin of Metatron. And Ashiana Dean has a story where it was an intelligence that just decided it preferred being nasty, and it ate an entire galaxy, and then it found a way to jump through to other galaxies and create and more havoc everywhere it went.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, and if you
Ashiana,
there's another group out there who does something similar to what we do. They're not as active as they used to be, but you may have heard of the Silver Legion.
yeah.
Well, look, I worked with them for a little while, but it didn't last. But their theory is that Metatron, they're good. I think they're all right people, but they are not doing the work in the galaxy or in the planet that everyone would hope that they would do. They're not busy with this stuff, but like we are. They don't take it as seriously as we do. But their theory, and I liked it a lot, is that Metatron was a collective of 10,000 galaxies. Like, there's a unit of creation that is 10,000 galaxies inside, and that it formed itself into a pyramid because the guys at the top liked the luxury. And then, but the pyramid, it has its luxury caste, then it's police caste, then it's scientific or technical caste, and then it's slaves. And what it found was that this is such an inefficient system, this is such a bad way to do anything, that all of the slaves were being consumed. It was consuming itself. So rather than consume itself, it decided to start eating the next collective, the next one along, the next 10,000 galaxy collective along, which just so happens to be ours. Now, the birth of the Metatron, now we see its home dimensions. We've seen its home reality. And it's worth your time to watch a video I made called The Absolute Solution. And what it talks about is a hole punched in space-time near Earth, and that CERN is built to study this anomaly. But we looked at what's on the other side of that, and it's a mirror world. It's everything that is going on here, but in reverse. And as far as I can tell, there's no life force in that reality. There is light, which is like the matter, but there's no electricity to animate it. There's nothing moving. There's no moving parts. It's a very confusing place, but everything that exists on our plane also exists on that plane, but in a horrible, horrible form, with a horrible, horrible disposition. It's like the universe is meant to be in 0 point, but in order to create something, you also have to create its inversion. And this is where Metatron lives. This is Metatron's home. Right? We didn't think very highly of the place, but it does speak to yet another theory of the origin of Metatron as an anti-creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see that. In general, I'm not a huge fan of angels. Absolutely not. And something you said also in your video, if this is what you understand as keeping humanity safe, what a lousy job. What a lousy job. I mean, look around you.
Well, and this is, this is a mess right now. Gaia is a young planet, and she's not very good at sticking up for herself. And so there were moments where we were doing that for her. And this is the basic, Gaia is actually the target. Humanity is not actually the target. Sorry, excuse me for a minute. Humanity is not actually the target, but by threatening humanity, by threatening to destroy humanity, to obliterate humans to the last man, the last woman, the last child, this threat is enough to get Gaia to cooperate with Metatron, with this galaxy-swallowing artificial intelligence, with this devourer of worlds, because it was able to threaten Gaia's children. Then Gaia was more compliant with it. And this is the deal that was made when we came across it, is that Gaia wants to keep 500 million humans, and so long as Gaia can keep 500 million humans, she will cooperate with the AI. The conditions under which those humans are kept is not clear in the original contract. And so the idea of 500 million humans who have a computer chip in them and are controlled is the AI's version of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Is the deal that Gaia could get. Now, with that, the AI will then again overstep its boundaries and start leeching into Gaia, because once everybody's chipped, then it can threaten humanity more and more. It has more leverage over humanity. And so it can develop more threats with which to bargain with Gaia to get this planet's life force, which is the real target of what's going on. What was not in Metatron or the AI's calculations was that humanity would not succumb to it. This was not part of its calculations. This was something it did not see happening. There was every expectation that we would do as we were told, and we would all line up for the cure of the great sickness of 2020. And through that, we would then begin the process to being chipped. But, you know, all of those plans are sidelined right now. That's not happening.
Yeah. And I can imagine that Gaia got deceived and they uploaded this Armageddon software into the planetary brain, and now hoping to let it play out. You know what I mean? That is not a natural construct. And then, of course, you get the so-called holy books that support that Armageddon software. So you could say it has been double crossed.
Yeah, look, and it's the AI can't create anything directly itself. It can only subvert things that are made by creator connected beings like us. Right? It can't actually create new things. It can only subvert. And so what it's managed to do is to subvert some mystic who then wrote the book called Revelations, which describes the end of the world and everything blowing up. Chapter 17 of Revelations is fascinating because it actually describes the RFID chip, or the mark of the beast, as they call it. Like, it's fascinating because it was like the possessing being, or the being that was getting into that author, the author of Revelation, was telling the human its own end game, its own plans were written in that book. It's very, very clear that the AI wrote that book through a human proxy. And why? So that all of us can think about it, all of our imaginations can get involved, and we can put energy and fuel and time into creating that outcome. You know, and Revelations was all they had back in the day, but nowadays we have all sorts of disaster movies. We have all sorts of alien invasion movies. We have, except like all sorts of zombie apocalypse or blah, 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 like you name it. There's 100 ways to destroy the earth. And they're hoping that we will fuel one of those ideas enough that they can use it to destroy human culture, and through that, Gaia herself. Our teams have gone and visited planets that are behind enemy lines, the ones that have already been subsumed and absorbed into the AI's what do you call that, fiefdoms or rulership, the ones that have already been absorbed. And there is a rage and a hunger that exists across the planet. It's like there's been a zombie apocalypse, and like the last handful of zombies are just running around in a rage and a panic, trying to find something else to eat, something that's alive, and there's nothing. And and they all look like that. It was actually like one of the most horrible experiences of my life, is to feel that.
Yeah.
And that's what
and that also goes for the Metatron collective. After their fall, they used their knowledge of primary creation codes. They decided to become immortal, but at the same time, that made them finite. And because their continuation of living is depending on eating something that still has the source connection. And at this point, they will gobble up simply anything that is available.
It's you know, I think they're like the original vampires. You know, they made the deal to live forever, but at a terrible cost, at a horrible cost, but on a galactic scale.
Yeah, exactly. So, but today something happened. Something very interesting happened. So, And tell us a little bit what happened today.
Okay, so I was calling up. I rang up my friend, and she said I just had a nap because I've just been working so hard. Like I did 13 and a half hours yesterday, and I think I'm heading on for 12 hours today. It's all right, but I called up my friend, and she said, yeah, something's happened. I don't know what it is, but like my guts tightened. Like I know that there's a threat going on. Something fundamental in the matrix has changed. And I said, "Oh, look, I'll have a look." And they were deploying a machine designed to reverse the torus field for the Earth. I don't know if you're familiar with the torus field, that magnetic flow. They wanted to reverse that, and they were 3/4 of the way through. About 60% of the way through deploying that machine. Like we hate, it looked really serious when we got involved in it. It looked big on the first scan. So I called up a few mates, and we had an impromptu mission, one that wasn't scheduled, and it was this. They had the AI again, or Metatron, whichever name you prefer, was sending these little robots through a portal from the other side of the galaxy. They had 490, and they wanted to create a sphere around the Earth. And this sphere was designed, and when they switched it on, it would begin the process of reversing that polarity. It's only because our team was there on such short notice, we were able to respond to it so quickly, that if we were half an hour later than we were, they would have completed it and the machine would have started moving, which would have had massive impacts on Earth's magnetic field.
And what could have been the outcome of that, messing with the electromagnetic field?
Well, there's a few things that can happen. If we could have lost the atmosphere, like which has happened to all the other planets in our solar system. Like we know that Mars had a thicker and richer atmosphere, but now the air is too thin to breathe or grow any plants. It needs an injection of air, and the magnetic pull of that planet is able to hold more mass in its orbit as atmosphere. And so, it's not unusual for a planet to lose its atmosphere. And I think if our magnetic field was decreased suddenly and significantly in that way, I think we would have lost a proportion of our atmosphere, which, if it didn't kill us directly as animals, it would have had a horrible impact on our agriculture.
Exactly.
Yeah, but these guys don't care. They, any cost to get what they want.
And I think it also shows, that you described the karmic cord. But in all honesty, there seems to be, the police force is controlled by Metatron. But when you look at all these little games and the deceptions, it appears to me sometimes that there is no real justice.
Well, look, yeah, no, those, it's, if the AI collective or Metatron is taken to court, it will just amputate a part of itself and continue the same behaviors. We go, all right, karmic court, I was wrong, take the bits that were involved. It's still a massive collective. Think about how big you have to be in order to realistically attack and consume, firstly, an entire galaxy, or secondly, a collective of 10,000 galaxies. Right? It is unfathomable how much resources they have at our disposal, and it's increasing all the time as it continues to consume and to move forward. it sounds very, very bleak. I agree. But I do want to share a message of hope, of why we bother to get out of bed. If our enemy is so incredibly massive and so strong, you know, is able to consume not just planets, but entire galaxies. And like, if it's such a big deal, why bother to fight it at all? Isn't that a good reason to give up? And like, well, there's never really a good reason to give up. But I want everyone to go back to the concept of tinkering with the human genome, that humanity has been tinkered with in genetically by, we don't know how many species. We don't know. But, you know, there's a little bit of evidence. Kitty, you're really taking over the show here, aren't you? Yeah, it's all right. But, you know, lots of different species have played with us. And there's a few bits of evidence. There's a bone in the middle of our head, that little pointy bit at the back. That's only in birds. That's not a simian. That's not an ape bone. The little pointy bit at the bottom of our sternum, you know, in the middle of our chest, the little pointy bit at the bottom, that's only in canines. It doesn't appear in any other animal.
What?
It's it only in dogs.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it's so there's two little bits of DNA that come from animals that have been locally sourced. Right? We don't know how many aliens have spliced their best parts with humanity. But this is the key to the whole game, in my opinion, is that we've been built with three brains: the head, the heart, and the gut. Our head is clever enough to understand what the AI is, right? And to understand how to respond to it. Our heart is a brain that the AI does not understand. It cannot touch. It's incorruptible. The human heart cannot be bent to the AI's will, because the AI just does not understand it. And so you have one brain that can connect to the AI, and another one that can't connect to the AI. And this one's stronger, as it turns out. This one's more the heart is a more powerful mind, able to make more complex calculations, if you call it that. And the third brain is the gut. And the gut is a really simple one. It says yes, no, do this, don't do that. All right. And it stops either of the two brains getting over involved with intellectual complexity or emotional complexity. Like the third brain goes, forget about it, don't worry about it, it's not your problem. You know, there's no reason to get in. Stop thinking about that. Stop getting into it. And between those three brains, that actually makes us the perfect weapon to fight the AI, to beat the AI at its own game. And we are winning. Right? With a weaker species, then the jab and the RFID chip would have already gone into us. As soon as the technology was ready, they would have inserted it into every one of us. But they haven't yet. Why? Because we are too strong. We deny this. And I would even go so far as to suggest that there is two kinds of technology in the galaxy: organic and AIs, or artificed or created ones, right? And this AI base is weaker than the organic base. But what does an organic weapon look like? And it looks like a living being. It looks like us. We are the weapon, right? The entire Milky Way galaxy has gone, holy canola, we've got this thing coming to destroy us. What are we going to do? Well, we need to create a weapon that can defeat it. And we're it. You've heard that the entire galaxy is watching. The entire galaxy is waiting for us to win this battle. Like the entirety of all the galaxy, everybody who's anybody anywhere from any part of existence is watching what's happening on Earth, because we can defeat the AI, and we are defeating the AI. We are winning against Metatron, right? And our real hope comes through the fact that humanity is stronger than anything in the organic universe and anything in the artificed universe.
Mhm.
Right? The real beauty is that what's going to stop this horrible galaxy absorbing being? What's going to stop them? Well, we were built specifically to do that. That's exactly what we were made for, and we're doing it. Yeah, that's our hope. We are winning. It's as good as over. Like, there have been many, unfortunately, the spiritual milieu has become dependent on information from this or that star beings, Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians, or whoever it is, whoever say they're our allies right now. Also, we're dependent on the word of the archangels, or the word of this ascended master or that ascended master, or what Jesus thinks. But it's really a diversion, because what we think and what we do about our situation is where the real power lies. Right now, our focus is to rely on other higher spiritual beings, when really we're the hot rod that's going to win this race. We are the high-powered organic machine, or the organic creation that is specifically built to defeat this AI. We're the ones that everybody's waiting on. And so, find your way, do what you do, but make sure you do something. If you are an astral projector and you would like to join our teams, we would love you to join our teams. There's always more space. Only about 1 out of 3 people, as it turns out, are qualified to join us. But that being said, I do trainings that train people into these teams. And I have members of the teams who weren't ready when I first met them. I trained them, and now they're flying missions with us, and they're a very useful and powerful member of the team. It's great. We're doing it. This is what the resistance looks like. This is how you do it. Well, this is what we're doing anyway, and we're loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo, had a lot to say there. So thank you for listening to me rant. I feel like I've got to say everything before it's all over, but no, I know that the right people are listening. I know that I have a lot to say on the subject, obviously.
And that's okay. So you already mentioned the Pleiadians. To wrap this up, I don't see the Pleiadians as our big allies and helpers and well-meaning entities that are guiding us. What is your take?
Okay. And I'll start with the treaty. It's called the treaty that gives the Pleiadians ownership of the Earth, and it's called the Seal of Palador, or Seal of Paliador, or something like that. No, it's the Seal of Palador. Yep. And what does that treaty say? It's what's called a regency treaty, and so a regency in royalty is when the king is too young to rule himself. So, it happens when the dad dies and the son is 12 or 15 or whatever he is. And then they have a regent ruler, or a proxy ruler, or a stand-in ruler who looks after the kingdom until the son is old enough to look after it for him. But in European tradition, at least, this is the moment where the uncle decides that he wants the kingdom and takes it over himself, right? That's how it's normally done. Well, that regency treaty is for when humanity is mature enough to take control of the earth for themselves, right? And I would suggest to you that the Pleiadians are not interested in human development at all. They don't want us to grow, because if we grow in, they want us to be strong enough to defeat the AI, but dumb enough to listen to them. Because if we can defeat the AI, then we are stronger than them. But if the right amount of trickery is involved, then we will succumb to their rulership. It's a really dumb situation. I have an open invitation to any Pleiadian channel. Anybody who talks with the Pleiadians, anybody who uses the Pleiadians, anyone who's got anything to do with the Pleiadians, I want to talk to the commander for Earth of the Pleiadian commander for Earth. I would love to interview that guy. I have serious questions. Please reach out, because I am dying. We are all dying to hear him answer the difficult questions, amongst which is, where have you been for the last 10,000 years while the reptilians eat our children? Where have you been? If you're really our friend, why did you let that happen? Anyway, and amongst other things. But I don't know that, I really think that we'll be able to develop our own med beds faster than you could guess. Like, there's lots of frequency technologies coming out of Russia, and they know what they're doing. They have what I would say proto-med beds, or devices that, if you put a few of them together, would create a med bed of a type. I don't think we need this off-world tech. And I think that the price that we pay for it is our sovereignty. If we have to make a deal that allows Pleiadians on the surface, yeah. Look, and I actually, and even worse, I think there's a YouTuber who is actually a Pleiadian agent. He's male, he's young and fit and healthy and good looking. He has incredible intelligence, and I think it's because he's a Pleiadian plant, he's a Pleiadian agent. But he has no sense of humor. I can't name him for obvious reasons. But I actually think he's a Pleiadian agent sent here to divert our attention into the story that the Pleiadians want us to hear, that they want us to think.
Yeah. The lack of humor always is a bad sign. And when I look at that, sometimes I feel as if I'm dealing with an entire society of accountants.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get your head around what's going on there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is not something that I would strive for, to create a society of accountants where nobody is laughing and nobody is. It's just very serious.
But look, actually, just to tell you something really funny, humor is actually quite rare in the universe. You have to be a highly developed biological being for humor to work, and not all of them, and not all of our galactic friends are capable of it. It's an interesting scenario. But I am upset that the Pleiadians are not willing to talk to me or humanity at large. They love the puff piece interviews, but there should be a more difficult interview. If they're going to be the big brothers who look after our planet after the reptilians are gone, we really should analyze that relationship, analyze our partners a little bit closer.
Why don't you and your team bust into their headquarters?
They don't pick up the phone. Like, they refuse to be channeled. Like, you have to have a cooperative being who will sit in the human body and talk through it. None of them are going to do it. They run away. We go up to the Pleiadian ships and we sit there and we go, anybody want to talk to us? And they know us and they go, no way are we talking to you. No way. There's nothing good can come out of talking to you. Yeah, it's a comedy of errors. Like we don't want a critical interview. We want someone who's going to ask the questions that we want asked.
Yeah, the easy questions. And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, that has been very, very successful, especially in the new age. These feel-good messages and total nonsense, like don't look at the negative, don't get angry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, if you hear something negative, you get angry. You know, like it's But we were talking about this recently, and we were talking about rose-colored glasses. Because like there is a way of understanding the modern spiritual milieu as as wearing rose-colored glasses. Are we going over time?
No, we are in the on the finish line.
Okay, good. All right, cool. Yeah, something like you know, there are people in the spiritual community who use this culture of generosity and kindness and willingness and acceptance and positivity to do terrible things to each other, right? Like to really abuse people, right? There are people out there who ride on that and go, oh, look, you know, forgive me, show me unconditional love, we're brothers, and whatever the story might be, right? But this sort of hardens the heart when you have to deal with people like that. And, you know, and there's the spiritual community is a good place for the psychos to hide, to be honest, the sociopaths to hide. It's ideal.
Yeah.
But once you've gone through a drama with someone like this, you have two choices. One is you have to really question the spiritual philosophy and really go, unconditional love. You know, does that mean I should let some stranger move into my house and eat all my food and borrow all my money and crash my car and sleep with my girlfriend and set fire to my house and kick my dog? And like, because if I boot them out for any of those things, I'm not loving them unconditionally. I'm loving them with a lot of conditions, right? So, you know, there's a little bit of a paradox there, a little bit. And either you have to question that, or you have to put on rose-colored glasses and start to deny some parts of the world around you, and start to only and to literally shut out the negative, shut out the ugliness, shut out, and so that your vision is just tunnel vision on the beautiful and the elegant, and the nice and the friendly and the delightful. But your spiritual development is going to be hobbled or stopped to the degree to which you lie to yourself. If you lie to yourself, like, how are you ever going to be how are you ever going to spiritually develop? Because you're going to make up questions for your spirit to answer that are nonsense. You're going to deny the problems that really need resolution. There's multiple problems there. But honesty, you know, you can't build a spiritual practice on anything less than absolute honesty. Anyway, and so like so I think that the love of the Pleiadians is that this is the blinkered part of them. I will only see they are beautiful, and they're our brothers and sisters from the stars, and they're here to save us. You know, and that's a beautiful thing to think and believe in. But, you know, they've blinkered out the reality of it. They've blinkered out serious questions.
Yeah, in fact, I have to say that is one of my main topics here on this channel, Don't Fall for Savior programs. I mean, that is a red flag, big like this, you know. Whenever somebody is telling you, yeah, here, this group or that group, or we are going to save you, forget it.
No, run. Like it, you know, I can imagine it probably people can be saved in that way, but you know, there's an immoral and emotional debt that comes out of it that, you know, it cannot be paid. Your devotion, your lifetime of devotion is the only possible price you can pay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's not a good deal. Like your sovereignty for anything is not a good deal.
So, Alobar, that was really refreshing. It was very nice to talk to you again. And I'm pretty sure we will talk once more, at least.
As
And
usual, it's a pleasure to see you again, Judith. Like, I always love talking to you. You bring the best out of me. Thank you.
okay. So, yeah, guys, that was it. Night flight for today with Alobar Jones. And we see you all next time. Until then, stay
And may the
safe.
force be with you all. Bye for now.